when you start a business, you start it with all intents and purposes that, you bring a client on and you go, that client's going to be with me forever. You make a hire, that person's going to be with me forever. You start a business with a business partner, of course they're going to be with me forever, and they'll be on the bus with me from the start to when we get to the terminal. People get on and off the bus along the way. People have got things going on in their own lives.
Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host Nitin Sharma, founder of RecTools.io, RecCircle, and the host of the RecTalk podcast. RecTools, for those of you who don't know, is the only whole-of-market directory of all the recruitment supply chain. So whether you run a talent acquisition team, whether you run a recruitment business, small, medium or large, and you're looking for a new supplier, say you're looking for a new CRM, maybe you're looking for a outsource of your marketing, maybe you're looking for a payroll supplier and move away from your current umbrella company, or maybe you're looking for some timesheet software or some automation or AI, any number of things. We've got over 20 categories and over 1,000 products listed. It's free to use, free to browse, free to do your research. We don't track what you're doing, who you are, and we certainly don't expect you to let us know if you've signed up with anybody. It's a free to use service now, tomorrow and forever. So get to RecTools.io if you are looking for a new supplier. We have a recommended panel on the front page, and to be fair, they're the people who pay me, so that's why they're recommended. That's enough of me plugging my shit today. My guest today, you'll know him from the BE Recruitment. Is it BE or B?
BE Recruitment.
B.
Yeah.
So you got a capital B and a capital E, which implies that there's.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, it's B Recruitment. It's
Excellent.
a common misconception though.
Well, there you go. Right, so it's not from BE Recruitment. You're known from LinkedIn. It's Stuart Biggs of BE Recruitment, a recruitment agency that's been going for nearly 7 years. Stuart himself has got over 20 years experience. First of all, mate, I want to say thank you for making the journey down.
Thank
really
you for having me,
Nitin. Mate, no problem. That's my pleasure. I love hosting people who've got an interesting story to tell, right? Rather than some of the podcasts that you see out there, which is kind of just top biller, and less about the actual kind of story behind the founder. So we've had quite an extensive chat off camera. We wanted to kind of figure out the best way to approach this, and I think the real value in today's episode will be, imagine you've sat down with yourself 7 years ago, you're a day before you're about to incorporate and embark this journey on BE Recruitment. What have been the highs? What have been the lows? What would you tell yourself? Don't do that. Do more of this, less of this, because I'm sure there's other people out there that will resonate with that story. So I want to throw the baton over to you, mate. Tell us about kind of the last 7 years. How have they been in a nutshell? And then let's start unpicking.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll answer the first part of your question first, if that's okay, because I think that's a really, really good question. You've thrown that on me. I genuinely didn't know you were going to ask me that. So, yeah, okay. Well, I think the mistake first, I mean, we did loads of great things and loads of things that we could have done better. I think what we could have done better, me as an individual, so started off sort of mid-July, launched the business 5th of June 2018, so I don't know, 4th of June 2018, what would I have done differently? I would have built the business out as a business more strategically better earlier. And what I mean by that is, what I was quite good at, my skills, I wasn't a businessman. Some would say I'm still not. But I wasn't a businessman. I was a recruiter who knew how to get temporary workers out. Back in 2018. I like to think I can still do that, but I've learned a lot of skills along the way. What I did was I put workers out and invoiced customers and made revenue to sit in the bank and reinvest back into the business. What I would do differently now is I would probably start it with one or two more people. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But I would probably start it a little bit more, less reliant on me as an individual, my contacts, drivers, the people that I know, and make it more about being able to be strategical from the offset.
Functional, process-driven business that is kind of doesn't need you so involved.
Because what happens is, it's got fors and against. It really, really has. Because what happened with us was, we did incredibly well back in 2018, or pre-pandemic. We did really, really well. We operated so lean. we're supplying 35, 40 customers a week with maybe 5 or 6 of us.
Nice.
I'll be honest with you, we're only doing that amount of customers now with at least double head count.
Yeah.
But we've got a more sustainable business.
Well, it frees you up to do things like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's more,
that would have happened back
but
then.
we're by no means the finished article, which we'll obviously come on to. But we were sort of rabbit in the headlights. We were working all hours. The on-call phone was absolutely crazy, which is a good thing. But I personally was doing 10, 11 o'clock finishes 2 or 3 nights a week in the office at sort of 6:37. I didn't have any kids then. I was single, so it was easier. I was in the office via choice and enjoyed it on a Saturday till probably 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was all choices that I made and sacrifices that I made to be where we are today. And the pro of that was that we generated some fantastic income to put back into the business. I've never been a fan of taking, you make £10 and you take £9 out.
No.
I've never been a fan of that. I've always built to secure and sustain and have longevity. But what it didn't do is it didn't give your mind a rest. It gave your mind complete switch on every day of the week. So I was, I'll say a lot younger. I was in my mid-30s when I started, so I sort of had the lead in my pencil to do it. I'm not sure I could do it now. I'm really not, but it really was. It was a great time, and it was great to look back on. You're in the pub on a Friday night celebrating every single little win. The phone's still ringing. You're booking drivers out and temporary workers out for the next week. It's wonderful. It's not like that anymore. It's more sustainable. It's a lot lower key. We've built and developed relationships with clients for the full 7 years. Some of those clients are still with us today. But what we're falling foul of now is that we are now putting process in 5, 6, 7 years down the line. And we're trying to catch up to our success in the early years. So you are playing catch up. Fortunately, we've built sustainable part of funding, if you like, to be able to draw on for that.
I think that's important though, isn't it? Because I speak to a lot of recruitment business owners and spend a lot of time kind of doing the free coaching and free mentoring, and unfortunately a lot of them that are, say, perm heavy businesses that work predominantly contingently, they really only have about a month or two's worth of, at 3 at the most, worth of runway, and then it's bad, right? And I know that from experience because I ran a perm heavy. We did both temp and perm, but our temp book was enough to kind of pay the office bills and a little bit of the VAT bill, and that was about it, right? It was a perm heavy contingent business, and ours would ebb and flow, and we'd have a really good month, a shit month, a mediocre month, a really good month, a really shit month, a really shit month, and that impacts your cash flow. It does. It stops you from being able to then make strategic decisions because all you're constantly thinking about is, I just need to get this invoice in. Need to get this invoice in. I think it's important to kind of be like, maybe all that graft you put in at the start was a good thing because it did put money in the pot. Would that money have been as kind of prevalent as it is had you have gone for your first few hires straight away? So when did you make your first hire?
Actually, we started in the. I'm quite good with dates, to be fair. So we started in the July, and we were doing wonderfully well, incredibly well. We're sort of invoicing £250,000 a month, and we were so sort of like scared to make our first hire, where really we probably should have had 4 or 5 people in the business at this point. We brought a lady in to do payroll part-time because we were so like sort of tight, and we were really umming and ahhing, interviewed 2 or 3 different people and all that sort of stuff, but we brought somebody in for our peak period on the basis that we'll hire her for this next 3 months, classic industrial logistics and driving peak period, and we'll hire her on a part-time basis for 3 months. And again, looking back, we probably should have brought in 2 or 3 or 4 people at that point. We probably should have started in the July. By the August, September, we should have been like, right, we're hiring, bring in a BD, bring in somebody to look after the clients, bring in an admin. You know, we're working it upwards like that rather than.
You said we a few times there though. So was it you and a business partner, or was it just you? Oh right, okay, fine.
Yeah. We started out. So the B
Yeah.
is Biggs and my old business partner, who's no longer with me, but wonderfully gifted person in terms of the way he helped me support to just go do you, go do what you're good at. I'll mop up your beep. And he did that.
You can't swear on this podcast.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll mop up your shit.
Yeah.
So he was my sweeper upper, but not that in a bad way. Like a great person.
He would let you go.
Yeah, just
fire
go
on all cylinders. You're going to make some mess along the way. You're going to fuck things up along the way a little bit, and I'll be there to fix and put things right and go, right, I'll take that.
Absolutely, yeah. We were
it's good balance.
We were the football analogy. We were the Dwight York and Andy Cole.
I was just about to say the Cole and York. Yeah,
we were the Dwight York and Andy Cole of recruitment in 2018 and 19 and 20.
Okay.
We worked off each other. We fed off each other. It worked, and it was like I couldn't have done it without that person. So that's where the B stands for.
So what happened with this business partnership then? Did he decide he didn't want to be in recruitment anymore? Was it a change of direction? Because I think that's important as well for a lot of people who are listening to understand that these things do happen. Like I fell out with my business partner. My business partner was almost like a brother to me, and it took over time. We kind of were very clearly just not on the same path anymore. And then now we don't talk to each other. Because a lot's happened, right?
Yeah.
And that's always like difficult for people to kind of like think, oh man, I'm in this business partner relationship and I don't know how to break this and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think again,
but you're speaking.
I will answer that,
right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, and a great guy still to this day. No real fallout is the bottom line. But I think I'll reverse that question sort of a bit further back down the road, really. So when you start a business, you start it with all intents and purposes that. You bring a client on and you go, that client's going to be with me forever. You make a hire, that person's going to be with me forever. You start a business with a business partner, of course they're going to be with me forever and they'll be on the bus with me from the start to when we get to the terminal.
Yeah.
People get on and off the bus along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I didn't, another going back to the day before we started type thing was you don't, consider necessarily, and I certainly didn't. People have got things going on in their own lives. I didn't think that in my personal life I'd have experienced all the highs, lows, and in betweens that I'd have gone along. But we were talking just off camera before we got there, before we came on and shot this. When you get into your late 30s, early 40s, shit starts to get real in your life. You've got responsibilities, your kids, your mum and dad are getting older, all that sort of stuff. You mentioned about going with your mum for breakfast about 15, 20 minutes ago. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, just to sort of get back to your question, things change.
Yeah.
We got the other side of the pandemic and things were going well. We went through that classic boom period of sort of 2021 into 2022. It was almost like, this is going to be us now forever. We're here. This is going to be us. We almost couldn't find enough people to work in our business. We couldn't find enough temporary workers. Clients were giving us opportunities coming out of their ears. We came off the other side of that. We were flying. And then you get to a bit of a point where all the dust sort of settles, probably sort of October, November 2022. And it wasn't so easy to pick up the phone anymore. And people were like, we're good now. We've got through that sort of period.
Yeah.
We sort of went along the journey another year or so. And I think we just got to a natural, like the end of a marriage. You get to a place and it's not always screaming and shouting and falling out with people. It's just a...
Yeah, this just ain't the one anymore.
Where are we going? Where are we going as a business and... as individuals, really.
But was there a disconnect, though, between where you wanted to take the business and where this person wanted to take the business?
I would say that, yeah. I would say that. In all fairness, I would say that. I thought, it's probably, I'm not necessarily trying to become the next Bill Gates or Alan Sugar, but I've got a bit of a vision for how we need to look in the future, the shape of the industry, where it's generally going.
Yeah.
I'm not a techie person with that in any way, shape or form,
yeah.
but you know, if I don't try and keep up with some of the stuff that's going on now, we're going to be left behind. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, you know. So I've got a bit of a feel for how that looks. And this individual would have been all over that sort of stuff because my old business partner was very process driven, and he would have been really, really getting the data together to do all that sort of stuff. But in terms of the passion, I suppose, that's probably been me. I see this badge, BE Recruitment. I look at the badge with complete, total and utter pride in terms of it almost saved my life. Come out the back of a marriage, not necessarily a bad one, just an unhappy one towards the end. And that badge gave me something to focus on in my personal life, to go, okay, outside of what's going on in your personal life, Stu, you've got something really to work for here for your future and whatever happens in your
whatever
future.
That future looks like.
Yeah. And I was driving that passion. And I think that when we got to sort of like, as I say, into sort of late 2023, I just sort of felt I was having board meetings regularly, and it was just a bit of a disconnect general, to be quite fair. And you know, I don't want to sit here and say bad things about people because I'm genuinely not that sort of person.
It's an important lesson to learn, though, because again, I wish that I had. I think my worst trait is that I will hold on to something longer than is right to do so. Right, in that, like, you know, if I've I don't know, I'm trying to think of a fair example here, but like, if I bought a shit stock, I will lie to myself. No. It will turn.
It's going to go up. It's going to go up. It's going to go up.
And then I get to a point where, well, I'd rather lose everything than to get out now. You know what I mean? I'm really stubborn with that sort of stuff. And that, I think, is what happened with my business, with my business partner. Because I remember there was a turning point where we had a very frank conversation, and I was like, look, I don't want to grow and scale this business. I'm good. Like, you know, and because I hadn't considered his personal situation and financial situation, all the rest of it. And I was like, look, man, I'm making decent money. You know, I've got the car, the money, the family life, the house, the properties. I've got everything I need. I don't need to like graft and scale this any further. I don't need to. I don't want to. I don't want to have staff.
Can I ask you a question? Were you judged on that by him? Did you feel like he was judging you?
100%. 100%.
Why has he not got the motivation? Why does he not want this? Why does he not want what 100%, I want?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think there was that started the point of resentment. Like I said, we eventually, things went very bad, right? For him, personal finances, to the point where he started defrauding the business and, you know, defrauding me. So, you know, that kind of situation, I think, escalated miles out of control for what he probably would have wanted it to, right? I'm sure he didn't. I genuinely don't believe that most people will do things out of spite. That, you know, they do things out of necessity and stuff. So I don't hold much resentment towards it. But absolutely, there was a, you know, well, I work harder than you. You know, I do this better than you, or I'm better than, you know. You know what I mean? He had a real thing about it, and that kind of, yeah, really didn't help the relationship. And I think, going back, if I would have been honest with myself, I think that would have been the point to go, oh, well, listen, I think you need to take this your direction.
I want to tap out.
And I'll take mine my direction, you know? Because
there's nothing wrong with that, though.
No, absolutely.
You know, I would probably say
he's still running a recruitment business. Okay, I don't know how it's going or what it's doing. It doesn't, like, from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like it's doing what he wanted it to. And I got out of recruitment because I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't the thing that I wanted to be doing, right? And I've just, I think it's an important lesson for people to be like, if I'm in a situation where I don't really think that this is going where I need to go, it's not, you know, you don't always have to shut the business down and walk away from each other and never talk to each other again. You can, you're sitting here quite positively talking about the experiences that you had and acceptance of, we both wanted to go separate directions, and then we did, and that's good, and that's fine, and that's okay, because that's life.
I mean, for me, like, so I think there's a bit of a misconception, maybe, I don't know, people probably don't care, to be fair, but like, I'm not trying to scale us to Adecco, Manpower, Michael Page, you know,
you
Best
never
Connection.
Will. You never will.
Oh, absolutely. No. What I want to try and do is become a perfect version of ourselves. That may not happen, but I want us to be really good, really well respected, obviously profitable, to be able to bring people on just off camera. I've got Ollie, my marketing guy, sat here, new to the business. Hello, Ollie. Do you want to say hello?
You'll see his knees.
Oh, yeah, you might be able to, yeah. So I want to be able to bring people like Ollie, 19 years old, off the street, so to speak, and develop their skills and make them into...
He's sitting there like,
yeah.
What about?
Well, maybe not off the street.
I'm not homeless.
Yeah. And just develop.
But no, you're right. Yeah, give people an opportunity and in an environment that is positive and a business that's growing and profitable and doing all the right things. Because, I get that. Yeah, it's not a case of you're trying to grow some sort of empire, but and
I want it to be in between where it isn't. I want it to be in between lifestyle business and something that I dedicate 60, 70 hours a week to go, no, I've got to be in the office. I'm in London tomorrow morning. We were talking off camera, taking your kids to school, picking them up from school if you need to, this, that and the other. I put a solid 40, 45, 50 hours a week into our business. I'm all over the place via choice. I can scale that back to doing 25 hours next week if I want, and it won't make a huge difference. I can scale it up to doing 70 and it won't make a huge difference. My time's quite valuable to me as you get into your 40s, as we've discussed. So I want it to sort of be that hybrid in between, lifestyle, and it makes me a few bob a year, to scaling it to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 branches. I want it to be a real good, ethical, localized hub where we can support clients in our niche and be respected. And everybody puts their 2 pence in. People are going to get on and off the bus along the way, as I said. Some people might be with us to the end goal, and others might not. But have positive experiences, temporary workers, clients, and people that work for us.
I like that. Right.
That's just speaking from the heart.
Going back then, or thinking back, what worked? What made you guys successful in not only the early years, but then this continued kind of success that you what is it that you were doing differently as a business or as recruiters that you think worked for you?
Well, I think
because a lot of people had a tough time the last few years.
I think we just so the old-fashioned phrase that comes straight to mind is, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
Okay, so we worked incredibly hard to build a business. It was always build a business. It was never cash out. It was never ever that from day one. I think when I started, didn't pay myself for 6 months. My mum lent me $6,000 for 6 months, so I had £1,000 a month and all that sort of stuff. You go through all that, you do all that. It was always get in the office, graft, do what you can, pay bills, invoice clients, do whatever we can, keep the drivers turning the wheel every day.
Yeah.
So we worked hard, so we got luck, and we landed on a couple of real juicy projects in the early days. It's like, I've worked for national-based businesses for, let's say, 20 years in the industry, where you never get anywhere near some of the clients that we got invited into, and it was like, come and get involved in this. So
what do you put that down to, though?
It was pure my mindset back in those days. If I could bottle my adrenaline, my motivation, passion, drive, willingness to succeed, if I had that sustainable now.
And do you think your prospects then picked up on
days.
that and were like, yeah, this person really wants this, so we're going to invite them in? Because look, the reality 100%. Is, it's not like they just went, here's a list of agencies that have contacted us. Let's go down alphabetically. Or BE Recruitment, get them in.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I'm a hustler. I've always been a hustler. Never did any good at school. Always been able to talk to people. Always been interested in people, engaging, all those things. And a bit of a nuisance, I suppose. So I worked really, really hard. But what I think what set us aside in a really positive way that then can be flipped as a bit of a negative as well is that we delivered. It was really, really simple. We delivered on what we said we would do as a small team of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When it was really manageable. Now I've got managers in to manage the teams. But when it was sort of like within my control, it was like every I was dotted and T was crossed. Communication was incredibly high, and still is. All of these things still are at the core values of what we are as a business. But we didn't rewrite the rule book. We really didn't rewrite the rule book. We over communicated to clients. We delivered on exactly what we said we'd do in terms of numbers. We were on site to meet and greet. We just offered an incredibly good. We weren't and never have been. I don't want to give my trade secrets away here, but we're not the cheapest. There's companies in our space that are giving it away because of different things they've got going on in their businesses, I suppose. But we have never operated in that way. We've operated, from my training background, on good, healthy margins, genuine margins that we can go and sell to our customer and say, you're going to get this service. So we did that, and people bought that because we were delivering at that level. So we didn't rewrite the rule, but we over communicated. We gave a great service, and we showed up for the client, and they were like, "We'll have some more of this," So that was good. What that's done in a negative way is the sustainability of that via bringing new people into the business and saying, "Look, this is how it operates," and that level of over communicating. And it's like, I need to make 6 or 7 calls back and forth to the temporary worker, to the client here, to just get this message through and make it really, really clear, and the understanding of exactly why he's not going to be in work tomorrow because his bloody dog's died or something. That level of over communication, it's so underestimated, and that's what really helped us,
isn't it? That's it fundamentally builds trust.
100%, right. Yeah, 100%.
Fine. So we know the mistakes. We know what's worked. Tell about some of the highs and lows that you would sit there and warn yourself about and go, listen, this is what's happening, this is what's coming, and maybe kind of try and mentally prepare yourself for it.
Yeah, so
COVID would have been rough.
Oh, God, yeah.
COVID must have been tough.
COVID was, I mean, I'll come on to that. I'll try and take you through a little bit of a journey on those, though. So, because that's how my mind works a little bit. So we started and we got smoke coming out the engine really quickly, That developed into a problem, which was like my naivety as a business owner was, if I supply you with a temporary worker, you'll pay me. You're a good guy. You say mate to me on the phone. Yeah. You've signed my terms of business. You've got a credible brand. It's fine. We started working with 25 clients within 3 months. Typically smaller distribution transport businesses where I'd get to know the owner or the director. Yeah. Little did I know that they had no money sometimes. So we ended up with some bad debt reasonably quickly with some what you would think are reputable brands. We didn't have credit searching. We didn't have this. We'd just supply people and hope that they paid us. So naive. So naive. So we probably got taken for something like 30, 40 grand in the first 12 months. Ouch. Off the bottom line. Now, we were doing so well that we could afford to take that hit. But that would have just killed most businesses. Done.
100%.
I remember walking into one client in the January after it started in the July 2018, the January 2019. They were just locking the doors up, and we were like, "Are you going to pay us?" We didn't have no process. Yeah. "You're going to pay us?" "Oh no, it's been tough for a few years now." He's just literally locking the gates. I'm like, so what our creditors will be in touch, our admin people will be, our administrators will be in touch with you. So that was low points. Getting invited into some of the bigger pieces was great, and grafting them and grinding them and working against some of the big boys, some of the big boys in the industry, 100 million, 200 million turnover, and, having them on toast. We absolutely creamed it, and they had no answers. The only thing that they did have answers were longevity and process, and they had this machine turning over in the background where we've got a small machine and it works perfectly for
you're the little engine that could
we're really sustainable now. But that's sort of like that, for a short period of time, it was short, but it made us some great revenue, so we got out of it what we needed. Eventually the tide come back to the big boys. It's like if you're playing a National League club or playing a Premier League club, they might have a great first 20 minutes and they might score and go 1-0 up. but eventually the class will tell, won't it? And so we sort of lost the war, but we won loads of battles along the way. And we would have melted down some big players. You know, we would have melted down their mentality in their office and left them scratching their head for days and days and days, if not weeks and months, thinking, how are these doing this and we're doing that?
We're struggling to.
You know, it didn't last. We learnt lessons along the way, but then we picked up more sustainable business, slightly lower turnover and spends, but real sustainable projects where we've signed deals with them and SLAs and PSAs and all sorts of stuff along the way.
Yeah.
So they've been good. I think really for me, celebrating our 5-year anniversary was like a great place to get to look back. You know, 7 million turnover. Probably 80 people at a dinner over in Leicestershire, clients, mum and dad, family, partner, all the staff and their partners. That was a black tie event. You know, we made a bit of a casino theme. It was a day to go, you know, pat yourself on the back, because you don't do that often enough. As an owner,
That's
you'll
really
know
good point.
that you go back and
you're
go,
right,
you're
right.
consistently looking at, I'm not good enough. Why's this gone wrong? Why's that gone wrong? Woe is me. You know, you do that all the time.
You hit a level of achievement and then you kind of go, okay, great. Now I need to go up to the next target. You don't stop to be like, and I've done this with the podcast, right? You know, we're at 2,000 when I took it over solo. And I'm like, right, get to 5,000, that'd be good. 5,000 came and went. Right, I get to 10,000, it'll be good. Like, you know, I'll do a thing about it. I might even do a post. You know, I might even do something like to maybe do a roundtable again or whatever. 10,000 comes and goes. Same again. And now we're on the cusp of 50. And I'm like, at some point I need to stop and be like, fuck me, this has been good.
Yeah.
Like, and give myself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point? Like, you can't just constantly keep going, but like, what if, you know, like, you know, double down and keep going.
Absolutely, yeah. It's I never ever stop for a second in my private life, in business. I never really sit back and go, that 5 year was a really and since then, by the way, we've gone on to do even more incredible things. You know, we've sort of rounded up our sites and put them into this centralised Leicestershire hub now, which is my essentially it's the vision is for it to be the best aesthetically looking, culture wise, environment wise. It's to create this place to come and work, supply workers out of, be involved in. I want to try and create the best place to work in Leicestershire in our space, driving, industrial, or in general recruitment. You know, we've got a standalone building. We occupy the complete first floor. It's great. It's floor to ceiling glass. You know, we've got loads of great branding around the place, loads of great space, breakout areas, you know, different things. You're never going to buy culture by bringing a foosball table in or, you know, anything like that. But we're trying to do these small things to really sort of give the staff a place to come and go, you know, it's a great place to work.
When do you think the business naivety started to fade? What did you do? Because you, by your own admission, you were an incredible biller and you weren't a good business person to start with. At what point did that start to change, and how and what did you do to invest in yourself as a business person?
I don't think it has. I'm not giving myself enough credit. I never do. I never give myself any credit. I am, as I say, you know, I said maybe 15 minutes ago.
Acknowledging that there's an issue or a shortcoming is a massive development.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of people can't ever get to. Right? There's a lot of people out there who just cannot see their own flaws and cannot ever accept that they are, you know, I'm not good at this particular thing. A lot of people out there that like that. My old business partner was like that. He was great at everything, if you ask him, you know. And the fact that you're able to sit here and be like, no, when we started off, bro, the first question I asked my accountant, day one we set up the business, and I rang her up and I was like, Laura, it's Nitin, yeah, good, yeah, day one, and this, yeah. I was like, how do I pay myself? What do you mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like,
basics, but
are you going to
people
send me
don't
a
know
pay
those
slip?
answers. When you sit in filling bookings, filling vacancies.
Are you going to send me a pay slip? She's like, why would I send you a pay slip? Just go into the bank and move whatever money you want out, exactly, and we'll make it make sense at the end of the year.
I think there is so many. I've said this I've done a few of these now over the years, and really, really enjoy them. And it's a great place to tell our story. But I've said it loads of times. There's so many better people in our space than me. So many people under the radar. They just keep themselves to themselves. They just go about their business. They work hard. They get out of life what they want. But essentially, I was okay. I was a decent salesperson.
Did you invest in sort of? Did you bring a Ned in? Did you go to networking events? Are you in communities where you pick people's brains of like fellow business owners? Like, what did you do? Because there will be people sat there being like, I still feel a bit naive in terms of as a business owner, and I think I need to like.
Do you know what I did?
Get to where Stuart's at.
Yeah, I ran the 100-metre hurdles, 110-metre hurdles. I hit the first hurdle. I fell on the floor. I hit the second hurdle. I fell on the floor. Third, fourth, fifth. I hit every hurdle, and I got back up. And the odd one I might have got over. The odd one I'm like, well, I did all right there. But I just tried to break things down as simply as I could. So I've always had quite a good mathematical brain. I know where there's a deal to be done. I'm pretty good at reading a financial report, a balance sheet, profit and loss. I can pick up a vibe on things like that really, really quickly. So that's something that I've always been. I think any half decent salesperson's like that anyway. And I never let the technicalities of how do I pay myself? How do I, pay the VAT bill? How do I, because I had somebody there to support me. But I just focused on get that driver into that place by hook or by crook. He is going there tomorrow, and I'll make everything else happen afterwards. Process, this, that, and the other. Legally, of course, legally in the seat and all that sort of stuff. Not breaking any laws.
You prioritise revenue, and then kind of like once I've got the breathing room to invest in myself.
I'm worried about those things that come back off the back of that, the repercussions afterwards a little bit. And do you know what? It's got me to where I've got to. I think that the other part is that I've tried to run the business on a larger scale of my own personal household, if you like. So, I've always ran a pretty tight balance sheet in my own life. I've never been a massive overspender. I've always managed to put a little bit away for a rainy day. It's just the way I was brought up. I grew up with most people our age in the 80s and 90s where, it was pretty tough. I wouldn't say that we were poverty stricken by any stretch, but we've all got a great tale about growing up in the 80s and 90s in towns and cities that is probably reasonably similar, unless you're from a middle or an upper class background, So I ran a tight background. I ran a tight balance sheet in my own personal life. And I've ran the business like that. I've been like, okay, put that away, put this, put that away.
It sounds like discipline's been the key for you then. Because you've not allowed yourself to procrastinate. You've not allowed yourself to go off track. You've not allowed yourself to get distracted by success and be like, well, there's, 5 times more money in the bank than I thought there was going to be. I'm going to treat myself and take half of that out. You've not allowed yourself to come off path.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, from where I'm sat, I think that's probably a big contributor to where you've got to in the short space of time you have, is that discipline. Stay the course. No, this is the way we're doing it. Okay, that didn't work, learn from it, but stay the course. We're still doing it this way.
That's really interesting you say that, because there's been so many people come and go in our business that have came in with their own vision, if you like. Middle level management, upper management. There've been so many people that have come in and gone, why don't we change this and that and the other? And yes, I want to move forward, and yes, we need to move forward, and we're doing all those things to go, paperless and all that sort of stuff now. But essentially, I don't know whether this will ever change with the AIs of this world and all the things that are coming in that we talk about off camera and stuff and social media and everything. You have got to communicate with an individual on a one-to-one basis to fulfill an order or some sort of, because we're dealing with people. People aren't buying crisps or pop or chocolate, or which can be done via AI and automation and this, that. There's so much that can be. There's so much in this industry that can be helped and helped and helped and helped and helped. But the fundamentals are that okay, you may not have to pick up the phone to pick up the order or this, that and the other, but you've got to have a level of communication with your candidates, your clients, that is never, ever going to go away. And I've just kept those core values, like, have we picked up the phone and had that conversation? And there's been people that have almost come in and gone, well, probably need to steer, move forward with this way of thinking a little bit, and paperless. And, we started with boards and cards, an old way, which is classic 1980s, 90s and 2000s recruitment. That built us to £7 million with boards and cards. £7 million. Okay, is that sustainable? I think that's still got some value now, but that's a story for the pub. That's a story for, another day, so to speak. But I think that genuinely has still got value now. If I started again in my bedroom tomorrow, I would go, right, okay, give me a list of names.
So I'm doing it.
List of things. I'll get 20 or 30 workers out doing it this way, in the next few weeks, by just doing that. Right, and that'll pay a little lifestyle business for me to do this, that, and the other. So I've stuck to my guns. You're right. I've absolutely stuck to my guns. And when people have come, I've had some really, really weird and wonderful conversations before. Like when I was going through my buyout, as an example, with my business partner, my method of thinking is very different. Not necessarily right, but I was viewing it as trying to be a real business person versus lifestyle. And it was like, we've got X, Y, and Z in the bank, so half of that's mine upon exit. And I'm like, that's not really how it works. That's not me cutting you a hard deal. I'll give you that value somewhere along the line. We'll find that value for you.
But
upon exit, I'm not transferring you half of what's available for the business funding for us to run our business to give to you for this. We'll find another way of etching that out for you, because that money that's sat in there, those funds, the residual revenue and all that sort of stuff, that's not my money. I'm a 95% shareholder of BE Recruitment. That is not my money as far as I'm concerned. That's money to reinvest back into the business to pay bills.
This is such a key point though, mate. Do you know how many recruitment business owners unfortunately fall into the trap of looking at their bank balance, their business bank balance, and being like, I've got this much money. And I know suppliers that do the same thing. I know, small, medium businesses that do exactly that. And I think that it's a mindset thing. I think, but no, that's been really insightful, mate. How do people reach out to BE Recruitment? What industries do you recruit within? This is your chance to plug your stuff. Ollie, you'll be cutting this and being like, here's our MD talking about, to the camera. Yeah, that's it. Plug your stuff, and then we'll wrap up and go home.
We are I'm sort of quite timid about actually answering that question, I suppose. We're just really good at what we do. The core values, we released some core values probably a month ago, I think, Ollie, we released some core values. Mine is passion. Each director has got I'm not going to bore you to details with each value and each director, but we released some core values that are really important to us to move ourselves forward. You can find them on our website, berecruit.co.uk. But essentially, we find that communication with our clients via not via email, via the old-fashioned values of a recruiter. Okay, so over communicating, we'll be on site. We're really, really passionate about our compliance. We've got a compliance team in the business as well. We're very, very now process. We've put so much process into the business to make sure that everybody's well supported, the clients are protected, our staff are protected internally, our drivers are safe, and our industrial workers are legally compliant and all that sort of stuff. But really what we are is a fundamental business in our space. We are a business that supply to Leicestershire and the surrounding areas for industrial workers. We specialise in supplying to clients anywhere between 1 and 50 a day. If you're an Amazon and a DHL, don't call us. Don't call us. We don't want to go and battle against the national agencies for 25p margins. Yeah. We're going to give you a white glove service. We're going to come and check your workers in. We're going to be on site. We're going to come and get to know your wife's name, your kid's name, your dog's name if you want us to, because we're interested in people. We're a people-based business.
I love that.
Driving, we supply nationally. So because of the way remote working has become about in terms of like apps and developments and different things now, we've got an app. Again, you'll find it on our website for registrations. We can supply drivers to clients in Northumberland, Devon, Kent, and we do. We do it really successfully. So we've become this out-of-city hub now. It's like a service centre in the middle of Leicestershire where we don't rely on traffic into the office now. We recruit remotely and we're really successful in putting people into clients. We do still operate with those 1 to 10 base clients that can you get me a couple of people for Monday to unload a container. We're still working with those and we still want to work with those, but we're now targeting clients that use that between 10 and 50 a day to give them the white glove service that they've never received before. So I hope that's in a nutshell. Couple of minutes.
That was good. That was very good.
So yeah, I've really enjoyed that, mate. Thank you so much.
That's been really fun. Genuinely,
it's been great.
We're obviously going to be keeping in touch anyway. There's a lot of stuff that we can do together and sort of. But yeah, I'm keen to kind of see where this goes for you and have you back on in a couple of years' time. But like,
exactly.
This is what we did, and now we do this, and now we're here, and things are going great.
Yeah, touch wood. Touch wood.
Fingers crossed. Well, look, that's it from another episode from us at RecTalk. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the cool shit that you guys do to keep us the top of the recruitment podcasting mountain. New episodes drop every Wednesday and every Friday. Be sure to tell a friend, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time. Ciao. That was good. That was very good. Right.